Do you want to listen to some epic songs about your favorite anime characters? Then check out our anime rap channel, link in the description. Anime, one of the greatest blessings that mankind has acquired. With genres ranging from action to drama, to adventure, to thriller, to comedy, and so on, it has just about enough material for anyone to enjoy. Much has been discussed about anime that are the epitome of storytelling, anime that have eye-catching action sequences, and anime so hilarious it'll make you fall off your chair. But today, we won't be discussing any of those, considering most of it has already been covered. Today, we'll talk about those types of anime that can be helpful when you're just looking to make the most of your solitude. That's right, I'm going to talk about the top 10 ecchi anime that you need to watch in today's video. Without further ado, let's begin. 𝐒𝐡𝐚 no 𝐜𝐴. Coming at number 10 on this list is the 𝐜𝐴 of Stigmata, a show renowned for its violence and fan service. You can rest assured knowing you're in for an incredible experience. The main setting is St. Mihailov Academy, where a series of serial murders have taken place with the victims being predominantly young women. By then, the culprit is still unknown. The plot then focuses on two adopted sisters, Mafuyu Oribe and Tomo Yamanobe, that come across a wounded young man, Sasha, and decide to bring him back to their place for him to recover. That night, Mafuyu finally witnesses the infamous serial killer in front of her. Luckily, Sasha comes to the rescue just in time, saving Mafuyu. Sasha then reveals that he is a 𝐜𝐴, a person capable of controlling periodic elements by partaking in soma, a substance found within the breasts of women. He then joins the academy, and from here begins his peculiar yet interesting school year. As you can tell, the plot mainly revolves around soma, as all the interesting scenes are based around that, with decent animation but no engaging plot whatsoever. If you're just looking for some fun time, then this is an option you should consider. 𝐼𝐻 Mao no Testament. Moving on to number 10 on our list, we have 𝐼𝐻 Mao no Testament. This show is bound to remind you of your normal sessions when you're isolated. Why, may you ask? Well, the intimacy in this show is shared between step-siblings. And if that wasn't enough, one is a hero and the other's apparently demons. Yes, even supposedly being sworn enemies isn't quite enough to stop some people from partaking in sinful deeds. So how can someone end up in a bizarre situation such as this? Well, the two supposed stepsisters, Mio and Maria, tried to deceive our main protagonist, Basara Tujo. Instead, they only managed to deceive themselves by thinking they could trick our OP main protagonist. Basara first tried to shun them, but later started caring for them. You'll understand if you watch the show for yourself. To make sure one of his stepsisters, Mio, can always be located so that Basara can offer protection, a master-servant pact is made. The deed that Basara and Mio get involved in is because of a consequence of this spell. An interesting plot with many more interesting scenes. Be sure to give it a try. 𝐒𝐴 𝐻𝐻. Moving on to number 8 on this list is 𝐒𝐴 𝐻𝐻, one of the more well-known ecchi anime out there. It would be a disservice to all of you if I didn't add this. The main protagonist is Hida Kizuna. Situated in a supernatural world, Hida possesses the heart hybrid gear ability, but it's not quite potent to make him noticeable among his peers. To get out of this predicament, his older sister suggests that he transfer to a strategic defense school to improve his abilities. So far, so good. Where does the ecchi part fit in all of this, you may ask? Well, ecchi authors seem to have the talent to include ecchi in situations where you'd least expect them to. Considering many of the students in that academy are large-breasted girls, you get the idea of where you'll get most of the material from. Furthermore, Hida's power doesn't measure up to other students. Therefore, his sister gets another idea. By having erotic experiences with Hida, the other students get their energy replenished somehow. What do you know? Hida isn't useless after all. 𝐶IMONETA. With a very strange and somewhat funny plot, taking the number 7 spot on our list is 𝐶IMONETA. With all the hentai, ecchi anime, and popular cat girls that Japan has to offer, there needs to be a way to control society to fall not too out of balance. For this reason, a strict morality law is imposed so that certain immoral deeds could be minimized. This law is so strictly imposed that citizens have to wear devices on their neck so that they can be monitored. In this world of sexual suppression, Tanukichi Akuma, son of an infamous terrorist who opposed the chastity laws, comes across Ayame Kaju, a masked criminal dedicated to spreading lewd material among the sheltered public. Soon, Tanukichi gets involved with Ayame to help her goal of opposing this law. Quite a dedicated movement for an interesting objective. 𝐵oku no Kanojo. Number 6 on our list is 𝐵oku no Kanojo. Thank goodness the ecchi isn't based around something unusual this time around. Based on a school love life, this is how the story progresses. Our main protagonist, Haruka Shinozaki, has the hots for the class representative, Akiho Kusaka, for quite some while now. Having supermodel looks and doing well in sports, she fulfills the criteria of what you'd want in a dream girl. As time passes, Haruka decides to confess his feelings to Echihō, and to his surprise, she agrees to be his partner. However, her quirkiness unravels as Haruka spends more time with her. An inexperienced girl, she had quite strangely never been in a relationship. Though this isn't a hurdle by any means. Being an ecchi genre, you can guess how they'd spend most of their time together. Ladies vs. Butlers. With somewhat of a tragic plot, but full of sensual content, Ladies vs. Butlers lands the number 5 spot on this list. Our main protagonist is Akiharu Hino. Not having the happiest of childhoods, Akiharu lost his parents at a young age. After that, his uncle's family decided to care for and raise him. Later on, feeling as though he was a burden to his relatives, Akiharu decides to enter a boarding school, Hakureiro Academy, to alleviate this unpleasant feeling. Akiharu then proceeds to take the exam and passes. After succeeding in passing his exam, he decides to become a butler after managing to secure a place in the house management department. However, due to his somewhat unusual appearance, he can't seem to get along with his classmates, the majority of which are girls. Talk about brutality. And if that wasn't enough torture to begin with, Akiharu meets his childhood friend Tomomi Sakio, a girl, or a snake for a better description, who traumatized him countless times as children. Fortunately for our main protagonist, his relationship with girls starts getting better, and so does his relationships. To Love Ru. Now moving on to number 4 on our list, we have To Love Ru, a story most of the folks watching can relate to. Rito Yuki, an introverted and shy student, has trouble confessing to the love of his life, Haruna Sarinji. Of course, being an ecchi anime, something has to be included that makes no sense whatsoever, but adds to the ecchi genre. One day, when mourning over a situation in a bathtub, a devil-tailed girl appears out of nowhere. And yes, she's naked, something that wouldn't have been necessary if it weren't for the influence of this genre. This girl is Lala Satalan 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 of planet 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸, a troubled daughter whose father wants her to return home to marry one of her marriage candidates against her wishes. When 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 commander Zastin enters the scene to bring her home, the hot devil girl declares her intentions of marrying Rito, presenting a reason to stay on Earth. As you'd expect from an introvert who's head over heels for another girl that he can barely communicate with, he declines Lala's offer. In a complicated procedure, Lala instead falls in love with him, and Zastin, the commander who tried to attack Rito, now also supports their supposed relationship. Now stuck in this predicament, Rito reluctantly helps Lala adjust her life on Earth, while simultaneously tries to interact with his dream girl, unlike some of you introverts out there who are stuck in their mother's basement. A little low on the erotic scenes, however, with a relatively funny setting and an enjoyable plot, you're in for a ride. Monster Musume no Iru Nichiju. Now from this point onward, things are going to get far too ecchi for your good. If you're still here after that warning, you're either a very lonely man or someone who just wants to finish watching this video because you have nothing better to do. Anyway, the 3rd spot is occupied by none other than Monster Musume no Iru Nichiju. For a long time, mythical creatures such as centaurs, mermaids, harpies, etc. were thought to be, well, mythical. However, the government had finally revealed their existence. After passing the Interspecies Cultural Exchange Act, humans and these mythical creatures, known as liminals, live together. However, they have certain restrictions that include causing no harm to the other species, as well as refraining from procreating. In this strange setting, our main protagonist, Kimihito Kurusu, gets involved with the Lamia, Mia. This Lamia somehow attracts other female liminals of other breeds, building into a dream harem. These girls seek to have sexual encounters with Kimihito, though since the deed is not permitted by Interspecies Cultural Exchange Act, Kimihito finds himself in odd but satisfying situations. High School DxD. How can we have a top 10 ecchi list and not include this infamous anime? Yes, I'm talking about none other than High School DxD that takes the number 2 spot on this list. Issei Hyudo, someone who most of us can relate to, is nothing more than a pervert who wants his harem one day. Though, unlike the majority of us, it looks like Issei's fantasies are fulfilled as pretty girls start asking him out. Unfortunately for our main protagonist here, one of the girls he goes out with turns out to be a fallen angel. This fallen angel attacks Issei, causing him to bite the dust just when things were going well for him. However, the story hasn't quite finished yet, as Issei gets a second shot at life. You'd expect a shameless person like him to be reincarnated as a cow or a pig or a turtle, but that's not quite the case. Even in his second life, he gets a chance with the beautiful, busty, hot devil Rias Grimori, a name I assume most of you are already familiar with, as well as quite a harem for himself where he gets to experience some, good moments. Prison school. Finally, now we make it to the conclusion of this video, as to no one's surprise, with quite a hilarious plot, as well as very enjoyable scenes supported with good animation. Prison school lands the #1 spot on this list. 𝐻𝐻𝐼𝐻 Private Academy is a prestigious all-girls boarding school, famous for its high-quality education and disciplined students. However, after a new policy, the atmosphere is about to change quite abruptly. Males are now accepted into this school. With the majority of the students being girls, you'd expect most young teenagers to be eager to join this academy. However, only a measly 5 boys are accepted: Kyoshi, Gakuto, Shingo, Andre, and Joe. As with any empire in history, it's always the minority that suffers persecution. Unfortunately, our 5 boys here are no exception. After attempting to make a plan of peeping into the girls' bath, they get caught. With the ratio of girls to guys being 200 to 1, you know there's no escaping this mess. From here on, our boys find themselves being punished and persecuted daily by the female students. Of course, having so many girls included in a show, you can also expect some ecchi scenes along with getting a good laugh. Or you can pity the guy's situation, in which case, it just shows that you can't enjoy a good show. With this, I now bring an end to this notorious list. I hope you now have some shows to look forward to when you're desperately trying to make the most of your isolation.